welcome back to Girl Historians.
Season 3.
Season 3, summer school.
Yes, I'm Carley.
I'm Blair.
And this is the comedy podcast where we talk about history and we also are girls.
And right now we're doing summer school, which to get you into the mood, as this is the first episode, season 3, summer school, let's go. Basically, we're like, it's summer, it's fun, we're chilling a little bit. So we're doing kind of smaller topics that we just feel like covering, maybe some like mini arcs.
Yeah, instead of doing like an 8 or 10 episode deep dive into an area of history, we're going to do like 1 or 2 episodes, maybe 3 episodes. But it's all going to be fun. It's light. It's for class credit.
Class credit, baby. So we're very excited to get back into it because as much as I love doing the longer subjects, sometimes like you get to the end of it and you're like, okay, I'm kind of like, I'm a little over it.
Definitely.
Like, I'm like, I know so much now. Like, why do I hold so much information? It feels really deadly and dangerous.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to deep dive a little bit into something else. And also sometimes really interesting things, you're like, this does not have enough juice for 8 episodes.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. That's valid.
And this is the thing. So like anything where like we really want to talk about this, but we're not going to be able to talk about it for 8 to 10 episodes we're going to do now.
Exactly.
So we're very excited.
And Blair,
yes.
Have you ever been to summer school?
No, I actually was thinking about this. I've never been to summer school. I always pass my classes.
Okay.
Yeah, huge of me.
Huge thing to admit on the podcast.
A huge thing to admit.
You're a fucking nerd and a narc.
I know I'm a nerd and a narc. I just feel like I would have actually really thrived in summer school if I ever did go.
Totally.
But I never went.
You're very good at code switching.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even though you're very smart, you could really hang with kind of the bad kids. You know what I mean?
Oh, and that was my high school experience. Yeah. I really was. I was a bit of a floater, but somehow had no friends. I was like friends with everyone, but had no friends.
Well, this is actually, you're so real for that. Cause I feel like people are often like, I was a floater. I wasn't in a clique. Like I was never in a clique. And I'm always like, okay, so either you were or you didn't have friends. And which one is it? Admit to which one it is. And that's fine because it's valid.
But no, it was, have you ever been to summer school?
I went once, but I went ahead of time. Like summer between grade 11 and grade 12.
To school during the year?
Like I went in between the summer of grade 11 and grade 12. I just took grade 12 English for fun.
Oh my God, Carley. Okay, this is so rude because the other day we were talking about summer school like you failed something. I can't remember when this was, but you were just like, oh my God, summer school. Yeah, like all the bad kids. Like, no, you were taking English in advance.
I didn't say
you just told me that I could hang with the bad kids and then said, yeah, I was in summer school because I was too eager to take grade 12 English. I couldn't possibly wait for the school year to begin.
No.
Absolutely savage.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
I'm sure it was.
Every once in a while, I'm still like, even now, I want to like take just like an English class. Like I really want to get back in there.
I do feel that.
And it was so great. We read in summer school. It was like, first of all, the weather was fucking awesome. And it was like, at this, like, it wasn't at my normal school. It was at like a school that was on the lake.
Okay, gorgeous.
So like you could literally go and like during lunch, which also imagine going to school on the lake, like iconic.
So you functionally went to like nerd summer camp.
I literally did it and I loved every fucking moment of it. And we read the poetry of Sylvia Plath.
Huge.
Which was awesome. The Great Gatsby, a book I love. And then Hamlet, which is fine.
Okay, gorgeous.
It's not my favorite, but it's fun. But I was in it so much. I loved it so much. That teacher also told me that I should go into radio, which is funny. It's kind of a way of being like, you have a big personality, but ugly.
That's a big thing my parents would always say, like, good face for radio.
Good face for radio.
My dad went to radio school and then they told him he sounded too gay to be on the radio.
Oh my God. First of all, fucking happy Pride.
Happy Pride. My dad was told it was too gay for radio. I hope he's not listening to this. That's his story, though.
That's wild.
Well, it's my mother's story to kind of jab at my dad. It's fine. You know, now they'd be like, get him on.
Get him on. It's Roz and Mocha.
It's Roz and Mocha and David MacMillan in the morning.
Exactly.
Let's go. No, happy Pride. Pride is a beautiful month. We have a Pride-themed episode.
We do. And when I was in summer school, I had just started dating my first girlfriend.
Oh, it was so huge.
And you know when you like unfrost your gay personality for the first time and it's like everything about you?
You're rolling up in like jeans as shirt and pants. Carabiner holding the jeans together.
Exactly. Like it was just gay. No,
there's something about a carabiner with like a couple of jingly keys on it that makes the world go round.
It really, really does.
It's special.
It's the new hanky code. In a way, if I see somebody with a carabiner on their belt clip, I'm like, going, hello, hi, gay.
Hi, gay.
We've talked about how I identified as a lesbian in high school.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. On the podcast?
I don't know.
Okay. Long story short, too long, didn't read. When I was in high school, I knew that I liked girls and I didn't like any of the boys I went to high school with because they were all gross high school boys. So I was like, I'm a lesbian. And I identified as a lesbian basically until I met my partner now. And I was like, never mind.
I'm
bisexual in the sense that I love women and one man.
Damn, you really are the blueprint.
I'm the blueprint. But I feel like that's the opposite of what people do. Like usually people are like,
oh yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, I'm bi. And then they realize that they're gay. I overcorrected.
No, I do understand that because I think there's something to be said that like, if you have that acceptance that you are gay early and then you're like, oh, like whatever, we could swing a man. It's like different where it's like, I find often like if you date men, meet one woman and then you're like, oh, I've been gay this whole time. I've just been living in hell.
Yes. Well, this is a thing of like, I think I either want a feminine-ish man. Hopefully Reese isn't listening.
That's a compliment, Reese.
Or like a butch. So there was just a lot more representation of women I was interested in than men I was interested in high school.
Yeah.
I want to be taken care of basically by a woman. I just want like a woman with a carabiner to take care of me.
I want a woman to carry all my keys on her carabiner.
This is exactly it. My ring of keys. We need to talk about the epidemic that is straight girls singing Ring of Keys at cabarets because that's not for you.
It's an epidemic of adult women singing it. It's a song for a child. Can you imagine if you roll up to the musical theater cabaret night, all your friends are wasted, and someone gets up and sincerely with their heart sings Tomorrow from Annie?
Yeah, or Matilda.
Yeah, or like, what's that? Consider yourself at home. Like Oliver. Freaking child orphans singing. No, I'm so over it. Like, leave Fun Home Alone.
My sister was in like a summer camp production of Oliver.
Of course.
And they called Fagin Fagin.
That's really funny.
And the entire time
that's Happy Pride.
No,
that's on Happy Pride.
I was like, this is fucking crazy.
You guys can't say that.
It's like F, like asterisk GAN. Like there's like
hey.
Yes.
No, I think it's hardest to be bisexual during Pride because the way
it's like being a cop.
It's like being a cop
You're
during
not
Pride.
welcome.
You're not really like, it's the way that I think that there's like bisexuals are a very important community. However, the loudest bisexuals are always the respectful with respect to you.
You're also bisexual.
I am bisexual. No, I'm punching across to myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm punching myself when I say this. I'm laterally attacking.
Also, you don't have to apologize to me. I have such internalized biphobia just because bi women are annoying.
Well, it's like the loudest bisexual will be the one who, like, first day of Pride, posting a photo with their boyfriend, being like,
100%.
I exist. It's like, no one's concerned you don't exist, babe. Like, with love and respect.
Well,
like,
this is the thing. It's just like, you have to understand that your experience is different. And that's like love and light. Like, there are obviously, like, I don't think that you should erase your identity.
No.
You exist. We all know you exist.
And come to Pride.
Come to Pride. Get your boyfriend to sign up for the TD, Straight Boyfriends of Bi Girlfriends Float.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all going to be drinking craft beer.
And get your boyfriend to carry the duffel bag.
Yeah, the boyfriends are carrying the duffel bags. They're drinking craft beer on the TD, Straight Boyfriends of Bi Girlfriends Float. They've got thigh tattoos.
Is that a real float?
No, it should be.
It should be. That'd be an
They're all
awesome
listening
float.
to Death Grips and Lord. And looking
just
at
back to back.
Yes, and they're just looking at their beautiful, beautiful girlfriends.
They're just like, I love my girlfriend. I think it's hot that she likes women.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so supportive.
They've got little caps on.
It's like, and then followed by the RBC float of men with non-binary partners who are concerned about being in a queer relationship.
Yeah, they're all just kind of like nervous and like,
they're just sort of like, I guess I'm in a queer relationship.
I guess I'm gay.
I guess I'm gay. Does that mean I'm gay?
Yeah.
No, I do, but
I understand what you mean. You have to
it's the whiplash of reading about someone's like journey coming out as trans in an environment that was not good for them, and then some woman being like, I only love my boyfriend. He's a golden retriever.
Yeah, you gotta understand. You just gotta read the room a bit. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be there and you shouldn't feel proud of your identity. That's just to say that, like, you don't need to frame it the same way.
Time and place.
And like you said, bring him to the parade.
Bring him to the parade.
Somebody's got to carry the duffel bag.
I don't want to carry my tote. I'm bringing more shit than you would believe.
5 short story collections.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the shit I've got in my bag at Pride, and I don't want to carry it.
No, well, that's exactly it. Somebody has to carry the tote bag. Somebody has to be the sober, straight boyfriend of a bi girlfriend because everybody else is doing poppers.
This is what I'm saying. And poppers, have you done poppers?
I've done poppers once.
Same. And I really liked it.
I liked it too, but it ended with me putting my head down on a table at Clinton's, the bar Clinton's. I just kind of put my head on my hands.
That's a good reaction to any substance. It's like sort of just laid down on a table.
It was at my friend's birthday, and halfway through, so we all did poppers, went to dinner, insane choice already.
Huge.
And then she realized she hadn't gotten her period for 2 months and left to go to the CVS on poppers to take a pregnancy test.
Happy Pride! Happy Pride! Gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I will say that
we should just talk about that. If you could hear the saw, my conservative ass neighbor is building the most ugly fucking backyard you can imagine.
Oh my God. I truly did roll up to Carley's house and like there's like surrounded by saws.
Yeah.
There's saws in the front, saws in the back, saws on the side.
Yeah, that my neighbor next door has moved in, put a Conservative Party of Canada sign on the front lawn.
I like not even for like a candidate, just for the party.
We love conservatives.
Okay.
And then covered their beautiful backyard in entirely concrete. And they're now building some kind of freestanding structure. I don't know what it is yet, but it's some kind of like, they're building something on top of the garage.
They're building a wall.
This is like, I don't know. They've torn down our fence and have assured my upstairs neighbors that they're rebuilding it. My upstairs neighbors are also queer, by the way. So we all feel like we're in danger.
This is horrifying.
Yeah. And these people, and I don't blame the workers. They're doing their job.
Yeah.
But they truly are taking a saw to something from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. It's unhinged. So if you hear saws in the background, just know that this is my life now. I'm just surrounded by somebody hacksawing.
This is horrible. No, it's actually a nightmare. Like it actually was nightmarish. Like you kind of texted me like there's someone sawing. And I was like, oh, okay. Like probably like regular work. Like, no, I've never seen kerfuffle like this.
It's really, really insane. I also, before we get started, I want to talk about my theory that concrete backyards are going to be the like carpet covering original hardwood floor of like landscaping.
Oh,
where like in like 15 years, everyone's going to be like, oh, I just bought a house. And part of the fixer upper stuff is that I have to get through all the concrete to get to the beautiful backyard, the beautiful ground, the same way in which when you move into a house, you're like, I've got to remove all this fucking carpet to get to the beautiful hardwood floor.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like there's 100%. People, I love my like housemates neighbors.
Yeah.
These neighbors can fucking choke.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
They've rebuilt the house. So last year in the summer, there was construction of them rebuilding their house. And now they're doing this. I hope they resell and they get.
Here's my thing. Why not just get a new build at that point?
This is what I'm
Why not go
saying.
out to a little suburb and buy yourself a nice little concrete house with a little walkout deck or whatever? Like, why are you gutting this like $1 million Toronto home? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I know. And we're not like central. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh my God, we're right by like a downtown subway station. I've got to gut this because we're right in the center of things. I'm like, what's the difference between this and North York at this point?
No.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump distance wise.
And also like for sure they drive. Like during Pride, this is offensive.
Well, this is the thing. Like I almost went over today and was like, I like quite simply film YouTube videos at home. Record podcasts at home. This is how I make money. Like, when the fuck is this deck going to be done? I Googled today, how long does it take to build a deck?
But it's also crazy because truly it's not even like they've turned off the saw. At one point, it's been consistent sawing for like an hour.
I know.
That I've been here. Freaking
what
crazy.
Are they sawing?
And during Pride.
What are they sawing?
And during Pride.
What how much
sawing our rights.
Exactly.
No, it's fucked up.
So that's that. So if you hear a little bit of like in the background, just know this is my life. This is
horrible.
It's horrible. I do think I will eventually just go over and be like, hey, understand, got to do what you got to do. Would love a timeline.
Yeah.
Would love a timeline.
I think that's more than fair because I do think that sometimes like building projects, they just kind of take their sweet ass time and it's annoying.
Well, I also think my POV is understandable. Just being like, I understand that you're doing it during the day because everybody else goes to work. Some of us are YouTubers.
And we
need to record our Riverdale recap part 3. With our parade sponsorship. And that's hard.
Do you know how hard it's going to be if Parade doesn't get their Riverdale Part 3 video on time?
Parade has sent me bralettes. And I need to promote the bralettes, and I can't with saw noise in the background. So you see the background.
Your crying's really good.
Thank you. You're like teary.
I know. I think I am. My allergies are really bad, and also, as we know from this podcast, extremely easy to get me sobbing.
You were waiting on my like front stoop for like a minute, and I feel like the just pure amount of sawdust you inhaled.
Oh my god. Well, because also I can't like just look away like a normal person. So of course I was standing like at the end of the walkway, just staring at the dust.
Yeah, of course.
Until Carley came and got me.
Of course.
No, because what else would I do?
Yes.
Disgusting.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Shall we talk about, today we're going to talk about LGSM, lesbians and gays support the minors.
So a little context, Carley and I, this was not our plan first episode, but then we realized we wanted to do a Pride episode, and what better timing? We just rewatched the 2014 classic Pride starring Lavender Brown from Harry Potter.
Yes. Andrew Scott,
starring Bill Nye.
Yes.
Imelda Staunton.
Yes.
The girl from Baby Reindeer.
It's a real who's who.
It's a real who's who of people.
The actor who is the fan cast for Grant in the Marauders fan fiction.
Yep.
I've only seen him in gift sets from this film.
Sorry, who the fuck is Grant? In the Marauders story?
Grant is an OC. He's an original character.
Yeah, clearly he's an OC. Who the fuck is Grant?
So, Remus Lupin in All the Young Dudes, the fan fiction, his parents die, so he goes to a boys' home every single summer.
And Grant is
his bunkmate, and they're gay together.
Yeah, for sure. And then I saw the gay together coming.
And then when Sirius goes to Azkaban, they like move in together. And are together. Grant and Remus.
And Remus.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that I'm up to speed on that.
So Pride.
Anyway, if you haven't seen Pride, it's awesome. There's a bunch of other movies. This is 2014's Pride, the British one about gays and lesbians support the minor.
Yeah, we had to look so hard to find it. And there was a bunch of other movies called Pride, and it was not what we wanted.
No, it's not what we wanted. But this one is great.
Yeah, so this is basically a story of a group of like queer activists who band together to support Welsh mining communities during a mining strike in the UK.
Which is huge.
Yes.
You have everything in that.
Yes. Basically, before we start, I want to say that we're going to use like queer as like a overarching term for like LGBTQIA+.
Or anyone who's annoying.
Sure.
Just kidding. Happy Pride.
I would assume that like they wouldn't love that because I think a lot of like older gay men still see it as a slur, which is fair. It was
100%.
It's just so much easier to say queer.
Yeah, because like what else are you gonna?
Because this group was almost exclusively lesbians and gay men.
Yes.
But we're going to just use overarching terms because we don't know. Another fun fact is a lot of these men are like still around kicking and gave speeches about this. One is called Mike Jackson. He was the one with like the little beanie and the glasses in the movie. Oh yes, love him. So he's still around. He's still like an activist. He's also a horticulturalist, and he gave a bunch of interviews. So I'm going to use a lot of quotes from him.
Okay, love.
Also, and like a lot of them are like on Instagram using it how old men use Instagram, which is so awesome. Just like posting like random screenshots of shit and like 9 photos of the same flowers with different filters and stuff like that.
Awesome.
It's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Okay.
The way you should use Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. It's freeing in a way. And they've earned that. You know what I mean? If you're a queer activist, you could use the sepia filter.
Yeah. 100%.
Yes.
More people should use the sepia filter.
Exactly. Okay. So what were the strikes? So the strikes that we're talking about specifically were the 1984-1985 United Kingdom miners' strike. Miners, not children. Miners like pickaxe,
like you're in the mines.
Coal.
I've been told my whole life that there are Welsh miners in my family, that I'm like descended from Welsh miners. And I have no proof of that, but I do feel a connection to it.
I feel that.
Because of that, and it reflects, I feel like, in my skin tone.
Yeah, definitely.
That there's miners in my family. Because they're underground.
Definitely. I see that. My family is all like Irish farmers who weirdly like would love Thatcher probably because even though she's a milk snatcher, she hiked up the price of like milk and stuff so that they would love her. I know, but most of my family hates Margaret Thatcher because they've got basic media literacy.
Yeah.
Okay. So the miners striked refused to go to work for 11 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days. And this was in protest of pit closures. So pits are like what we as non-miners would understand to be mines.
A hole.
A hole in the ground where there's coal.
Yes.
And basically, like the National Coal Board, I don't know why coal is hard for me to say.
Coal board.
Was like, we're going to close pits that are unprofitable. And so people are going to lose jobs. Okay. And the miners were like, please,
no,
don't
please
do that.
don't close the pit.
It's also worth noting that the miners union was one of the strongest unions at the time. So this is really more so like a
union busting.
It's union busting.
Yeah.
It's like if we can break the miners, then we can break all the unions. And if we can break all the unions, we can use free market. And as we know, like free market capitalism hurts the working class more than anyone else.
Absolutely. And
so
that's what this is about.
Margaret
Thatcher's whole thing.
Yes.
Was in charge at the time. She was like, I don't want unions. I want capitalism.
Yes.
Workers suck. My hair rocks.
My hair rocks. So yeah, it's basically like that version of like, yes, it's about closing pits, but it's more about breaking the unions, right? Also, a fun fact about Margaret Thatcher. Did you know that she helped invent soft serve ice cream?
Oh, man.
Because she's evil. And she was like, what if we put air into food so that we can give people less food because there's air in it?
Oh my God, she's a cartoon villain.
This is what I'm saying.
What the hell?
At no point should you be funding research to put air into food and not be like, oh,
I'm a Disney villain.
I'm evil.
I'm evil. Like I'm doing pure evil things.
I forgot.
You know what? This is how I feel though. This is how I feel when they brought out whipped cream cheese. What the fuck is up with that?
You never had whipped cream and went, I wish it was sour.
I wish it was sour and I wish I had more air in it. This is what they did. They did that so they could sell you less cream cheese. Don't buy the whipped cream cheese.
Yes. So basically, the National Coal Board admitted that they were going to close 20 pits, which would lose over 20,000 jobs.
That's insane.
Which is a lot. But it was actually rumored that they wanted to close up to 70 pits. And this was recently confirmed in 2014 when old cabinet papers were released. So they were lying. They were going to close more. 70,000 jobs would be lost. So on March 5th, 1984, miners walked out when they heard that the plans for accelerating these pit closures were in effect. So miners walked out of the pits.
I'm with them.
And then on March 12th, the National Union of Mine Workers.
National Union of Coal.
The National Union of Mine Workers, NUM, N-U-M, declared a national strike. Okay, so 165,000 of the country's 187,000 miners went on strike.
Oh my God.
So over 2/3. The ones that were left were basically like, Margaret Thatcher was like, we won't close mines in this area if you guys want to work, to like bust unions, right? Being like, you can still work. Okay.
Oh my God.
So the picket lines were highly policed. They would bus in thousands of police officers from different areas.
Jesus.
To like incite violence, wrongfully arrest people, things like that. Also put through Parliament was like anti-picketing legislature, which means that you could not harass scabs if they went into work at your mines.
Oh my God.
Which is insane. More than 11,000 people were arrested. And if you were arrested as a miner, you would lose your job and never work again. Awesome.
How is that legal?
Yes.
No, come on.
Yes. This was all under the rule of Margaret Thatcher, of course, Prime Minister. I have written here, imagine destroying unions and creating economic collapse and not even looking cute while doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
Margaret Thatcher, we simply don't have time to unpack everything. Maybe we'll do an episode on her.
On Margaret Thatcher.
We don't like Margaret Thatcher on the pod.
No. World's first public toilet. It's her grave. That's not a new thing. That's what they say.
Okay, Blair's pissed on her grave. I think Blair might have pissed on Margaret Thatcher's grave.
I would if I've been there, but I haven't been to it.
I know. We'll go on a vacation and we'll both do a steaming period dump.
If anyone from the Margaret Thatcher grave tourism board is watching this,
send us to Margaret Thatcher's grave
so we can piss our period blood on it.
So Thatcher saw that during a miners' strike in 1972 to 1974, there were mass blackouts because coal is energy, if you are a girly and don't know. For the girls out there, coal is energy.
Before we harness lightning, we harness coal.
Exactly. So you had like a lot of power as miners if you striked because you were like, well, guess what? There's no power anymore.
Guess what? There's no power.
But she saw this and ahead of the strike, she stockpiled 6 months worth of coal. Villain.
Villain. She's like Maleficent.
I know. She's like, have this magic apple.
of this apple stockpiling coal. Oh my God, I hate this woman.
Yes. So just before we get into this now, so the miners did not work when they would strike. They weren't going into the pits.
Yeah.
They would go to like really highly populated pits and all strike together, right? With like, just like a sit-in, basically, okay? Cool. And they survived on donations and union money alone. And a lot of the times, the wives would be the ones that are supporting the family at this time. So they would often need buses to get them from place to place because these were in rural communities, right? Yeah. So it's like working class communities. And a lot of these communities were based around coal. So if they failed, the community would collapse. Love. Yeah. But this was like a lot of women were like in like positions of power because they were the community organizers around the men who were picketing. Okay.
This makes sense.
So now let's do a bit of queer history for context. Also going to be massive bummer. Okay.
Oh,
I know. So gay sex was only partly decriminalized in the UK in 1967.
How do you partly decriminalize gay sex?
You were allowed to have it and not get arrested, but the age of consent is 21, not 16 like it is for straight people.
Oh, okay.
Which is awesome. It's awesome.
That feels rude.
Yeah, that's insane. I also, when I was writing this, because I knew that the age of consent for gay people in the UK was 16. I mean, it was 21. And I was like, oh, but the age of consent is 18 for straight people, which is still bad. But then I looked up and it's 16.
No, it's 16. It's like 14 in France, I think.
Okay, well, that's fucked.
It's nuts. But that's like just with other 14-year-olds.
I know, but I don't want to fucking think about that.
No, I don't want to think about
gross. It's crazy.
Well, France is...
I know. They've got their own shit going on. Also, it was still classified as a mental illness to be gay. And bring it back.
This is what I'm saying. I feel like we're headed back there.
Yeah.
In a way that's empowering.
Yeah, we're actually reclaiming.
We're reclaiming.
And police would go undercover to cruising sites to arrest people.
Which is a horny thing to do.
Which is like, I feel like who's volunteering for that?
I know the cops are just like, I'll go.
No, I'll go for straight rights.
Sick freaks.
No. You want to have sex. That's fine.
You want to have sex. It's fine. Just because you can't be yourself doesn't mean you need to harass other people.
Exactly. So this mining strike is happening in 1984. In 1981, the first known case of HIV was diagnosed in the UK.
That's crazy.
By a man who visited Florida a lot, which kind of just Florida would come into the narrative in this way. Yeah. And it was in December of 1981. So it's very recent. And as we kind of know from history, as like HIV became like an epidemic and a crisis, homophobic sentiments rose again, right? Yeah. Like it's like the gay plague, they're dangerous, all these things. Okay. So things were on the rise, but the reason that the LGSM and like the gay community started to support the miners is because they realized that the police weren't harassing them as much anymore because they were harassing the miners. So they're like, things have been pretty chill recently. And then they're like, oh, right.
Because you're harassing someone else.
Yes. So now let's talk about lesbians and gays support the miners. It was started by Mark Ashton and Mike Jackson at 1984 Pride. Now, I couldn't find a lot about Mike Jackson, even though he's alive, just because his name is basically Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's rough.
So if you Google Michael Jackson age,
dead,
it shows you Michael Jackson. Like it's that's like because and it'd be like, do you mean Michael Jackson? And I'd be like, no, Mike Jackson, LGSM, and they'd be like, surely you mean Michael Jackson.
That's really too
Which
bad.
is what I would do in witness protection.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a name in witness protection, I'd be like, oh, it's so funny you actually asked that.
It's
My name is Meryl Streep. Yeah. My name is actually Meryl Streep. I know it's random, but it's true.
But it's actually my name.
Yes. So Mark Ashton was a 24-year-old communist and gay rights activist. Cool. We kind of know this from the movie because he's a communist in the movie, although they don't focus on it as much. Like he was a card-carrying, massive communist in real life.
I believe this.
And as we've discussed, it's a really good representation of communists in that movie because there's nothing a communist loves to do more than give a fucking speech. They want a fucking speech at any given moment. Give them a mic. They're speaking. They're giving a speech.
If you watch Pride 2014, this character truly, he has no dialogue, just speeches.
Just monologues and speeches to groups.
The only dialogue he has is when he goes and he says, I've just realized a speech I have to give. and then he goes and gives a speech. And then you don't really hear from him.
And if you know communists, there's nothing a communist loves to do more than if they're a Maoist, wear a little hat and give a speech.
Wear a little hat, give a speech, and then talk to your friends about how you're going to give a speech and how you've come up with the solution.
Exactly. And we love him. one of Mark Ashton's friends, Chris Birch, like this is a quote of him talking about Mark Ashton. I thought it was really good. Just to give you like an idea of who he was. He says he was an everything person. He was an Irishman, a communist, an agitator, a lapsed Catholic who still went to mass.
Oh my God.
He was very charismatic. His communism governed everything he did. He spent a couple of months in Bangladesh in 82 and the poverty really politicized him.
Whoa.
So we love Mark Ashton.
He's cool.
Absolutely. So basically Ashton and Michael Jackson, were going to Pride and they met up at the subway station. And Ashton was just like, hey, why don't we take these buckets and start collecting money for the minors? Because he was like an organizer and realized that the reason why the police weren't bothering the queer community as much was because they were all being bussed out to different pits to harass minors.
Which is crazy.
Yes. And all of these like members of the group were all socialists and very much believed in like, liberation for all or liberation for none, right?
Yeah.
So like they were like, oh, well, obviously we have to.
And that's true.
That's very true. Like the working class struggle is the same as the queer struggle, is the same as racism. It's all these different things, right?
Absolutely. Everything connects.
Yes. So they were a socialist collective and they never wanted to push the queer agenda, which was often suggested by like homophobes at the time. Like they're supporting the minors because they want to push the queer agenda. It's about liberation, right? So after they collected money, then later in July, they met in Mark Ashton's flat, everybody who wanted to become a member of the collective. And then they started meeting at Gaze the Word, the bookshop, which still exists in London today. They sell LGSM t-shirts at Gaze the Word. I want one so fucking bad, but they do not ship to Canada.
Okay, well, we have to go.
Who's going to get me a Pits and Perverts, which we're going to get to.
And by the end of the season, we're booking
trip to London.
Oh, trip to London. Honestly,
it feels like the next possible step.
It feels like the next step.
Yes.
Also, flat is British for apartment.
Mark Ashton's flat.
His flat.
His flat.
It's like when your friend comes back from exchange and they call their apartment a flat and the elevator's lifts and it's
you're like
girl, you were there for 3 months.
I love learning real Britishisms. Because like my manager, Sophie, she's British and she'll be like, it's a bit sketty. And I'll be like, we don't have that.
You gotta explain that.
And she's like, well, don't you have raw? Where's my backy? And I was like, there's 700 words in that sentence.
And I don't.
I was like, there's 7. She's like, but you know what that means? And I was like, no. It's a sandwich of 2 words on either end of the sentence that I've never heard before. So raw is apparently just how posh people start sentences.
Raw. Oh, like raw.
Raw.
Okay, I do know
and
that.
backy is tobacco. So it's like, where's my tobacco?
Oh,
and
raw,
sketty is like kind of like rich person kind of indie sleaze. Like it's like ketamine kind of thing.
Oh.
Where it's like really like grungy and kind of skanky, but like rich person, grungy and skanky.
Sketty. I was looking up GIFs of Here Comes Honey Boo Boo the other day.
Don't want to admit that on the podcast.
But she called spaghetti sketty. And she's like, I want sketty and butter and ketchup.
I was going to ask where she is today, but I really don't think I want to know the answer.
No, I think she's doing well.
Okay.
She did a really cool photo shoot with Teen Vogue last year. It was very sick.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So the group's main task was shaking buckets outside of London's gay venues. So like,
cool.
They would have a bucket and you'd shake the bucket. And if there's cash in it, and for the kids watching, you don't know what cash is. It's like a credit card, but paper. But they'd shake it and be like, because they're real. You know what I mean? Like it's money. It's like, and then they would be collecting donations, right? And the purpose of collecting donations is because, again, these minors are on strike, and the more financial backing they have, the longer they can strike, because they're striking against the coal board, which has a shit ton of reserves, right? Like they have a lot more money. So it's like a grassroots movement against a massive corporation kind of thing, right?
Whoa.
So they would go outside of London's like gay pubs and things like that, and they would shout, support the minors, dig deep for the minors, their struggle is ours, okay?
Aww. Okay.
And in order to maximize the effectiveness of the profits, instead of donating just to the union, they decided to pick a specific community and donate directly to that community.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes. In the movie, it's because nobody will accept their money, but in the articles I read, it was just like a socialist choice of being like, how can we actually maximize the effectiveness of this money by donating it specifically to one group to make a difference. Now, listen to our Welsh listeners. The language is different than English.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm going to mispronounce things, okay? It's going to happen. Let me look how this is pronounced. Dule. I should have done this before, but I'm not a professional.
You are very professional. I wish I could speak Welsh.
I know. It's so melodic.
I know. It's so cool. I also love like
Delies. That's what it says. Delies. Okay. So the group chose New South Wales, Delies Valley, because one of the members was from that area. Cool. And they were just like, okay, we're going to pick some kind of mining town, but they were metropolitan queer men. So they needed somebody who was kind of
from the community. If you were like, we have to donate somewhat like to a small town in Canada.
To a Southern Ontario town, I'd be like, who's from one?
I'm like, okay, we got one.
Who's got one?
Who knows which one is good?
Yes. Another fact that I found interesting when I was reading an interview with Michael Jackson, the owners of gay clubs would oftentimes call the police on LGSM.
What?
Because they were like, you're harassing our customers, and they didn't want that. But they were saying basically like there was a real pushback of political queer people because they're like, we want acceptance, and we need to be like fun and cute, and don't rock the boat, basically.
Oh, and that's still today. Yeah, I feel like it's so prominent.
It's like it's the like kind of personification of the TD float at Pride, like a bank float at Pride.
TD needs to do their straight boyfriends of bisexual women float.
Exactly. TD, and you can have that idea for free.
This is the thing. You can have that idea for free, along with the RBC boyfriends of non-binary people float.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I think that's such a conflict
it's
now.
Still the no, it's interesting how stuff like that is still the thing.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading this, I was getting kind of like, not agitated, but I was like, in the past, being queer was so entrenched in struggle. And now it feels like a lot of people have like turned their back on that in a big way, because like in many ways, like you can really sit at the right hand of the oppressor now.
Absolutely.
But it's always been that way. Like, it's like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's interesting to learn that it's always kind of been that way. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Also, a common criticism among queer people towards LGSM at the time was like the AIDS epidemic was happening. And they're like, why would you not donate to queer charities? What have the miners ever done for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of them also came from like these smaller mining communities that weren't always accepting. Mark Ashton, Communist King, responded to this by saying, what do you mean the miners don't support us? The miners dig coal, which is used for fuel, which makes electricity that runs these disco lights. Would you go down in a mine and work? I support them because they go down there and do it. I wouldn't. So it's this idea of like, it's power, baby.
Yeah.
And also, again, this idea of like mass liberation, like you just need, everybody's struggle is your struggle, right?
Yeah, your struggle is your struggle.
But I'm not going to be like, obviously the AIDS epidemic was very pressing. Like I understand being like, donate to that. I'm not,
for sure.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks after that inaugural meeting, the group passed 2 motions basically to define the parameters of what LGSM is. The first was, it is a single issue solidarity group that owes no allegiance to any political party. The only requirement of members is that they are either lesbian or gay, and that they support NUM, the National Union of Mine Workers.
Cool.
Okay. And that was because Mike Jackson was talking about how like there was like anarchists and like different factions of communists and socialists, which is like doing anything these days too. Yeah. It's like nobody loves to fight more than leftists who basically believe the same thing except for one basic difference.
Thing, and they fight for hours and hours and days and days
and hours about that. Yes.
No, 100%.
Exactly. And the second motion was to adopt the Dulai Valley.
Cool.
Okay.
Love that.
Yes.
So they're all set.
And donations, I already said that donations are key because they need to donate to these, like they need to like support and feed these families. Okay.
Need to make money.
Now, when they contacted this small Welsh community, the group was not sure about taking money from queer people because they were concerned about being a laughingstock or that morale would get lower because already these men were being supported by their wives. Embarrassing.
Humiliating.
Can you imagine something worse?
Like, can you imagine a woman helping you
and then having to take money from a gay person?
Imagine going home. Your wife is taking care of you, has made up the house, and is making all your family's money, and then also a gay person shows up and gives you money.
Horrific.
Worst day of my life.
Yes. So they were worried that would like that morale would drop lower, and they needed morale for the picket lines.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah. I get it, but in a much more real way.
And then what changed is, this is a quote from Mike Jackson, the women in particular, gay men often find this, had particularly championed the cause to men. These men were doing a bit of body giggling at the prospect of these gay people coming to descend on their village, and the women weren't having it. They just said, these people have the decency to support us. We want to extend a hand of friendship to them just as they would anyone else.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Women and gay men solidarity.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Those like solidarity hands that are holding each other, it's women and gay men.
Women and gay men.
And lesbians, of course. But lesbians are okay. Like they're a single, they don't need help.
They're 2-in-1, much like Head and Shoulders shampoo and body wash.
They're 2-in-1. They're already women.
They're already women.
They're shaking their own hands.
Shaking their own hands.
So David Donovan was sent as a representative to meet the group in London on September 6th before they accepted the money and all these things.
Cool.
He was like a community representative. They met and talked in a cafe about the struggle and basically saying like, oh, we want to donate this money not to further our cause, but because we see your struggle and it relates to our struggle and we want to support you. Okay. So then they presented him with a check for £500 at a gay club that night. They brought him to a gay club that was incredibly generous and got a lot of donations, even though it was like all unemployed and underemployed people, but they just donated a lot of money.
That's so typical though.
I know. It's the tipping. It's the tipping.
It's the tipping of it all. Like the broke person is going to give as much money as they can. The rich person is going to hoard it.
Exactly. So Mark Ashton wanted to give a speech, as communists want to do.
Oh yeah.
Had the DJ stop the music and introduced David as a striking minor.
Huge.
Which is to have the music stop at a gay club.
I'd be like, this is Dave.
He's a minor. He's going to give you a speech.
And not in the fun way.
No. Fun?
Never mind.
But
I said anything.
But David was immediately met with cheering and clapping from the crowd of around 200 people. And they all moved to hear what David was going to say. Aww. Okay. So he said, I have been asked by the people of the Dulai Valley to extend a hand of friendship and solidarity to the lesbian and gay comrades and friends in London. Okay. And after this, they all partied and whatever. And he invited the group to come to the Welsh town and stay with them and like see where the funds are being kind of distributed.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So on October 27th, the group visits the Onslin Miners Welfare Hall and drinks with the miners and their families. Okay.
And that's how you make friends.
Absolutely. And they said that they became friends quite quickly because, as Mike Jackson said, gay men are very good at drinking beer.
Oh,
so
my
they all
God.
just drank together, they danced together, they sang together. And it was basically, from what they described, which is a bit different than the film, pretty immediate acceptance into the town.
Aww.
It's like
that's beautiful.
It's like anti-working class propaganda. They were saying like it was very much presented as if they came into this town and like showed them pasta and music and opera or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these small town working class people, like they don't know culture. But Wales specifically has like a very rich cultural history and poetry and all these different things. So they were already like a very forward-thinking community.
And it is so true that like if you can drink a beer and you meet someone else who also loves to drink a beer, deal sealed.
No, exactly.
Drinking beer is one of the most powerful things you can do with another person.
Absolutely. Like there's such a community there. Mm-hmm. And in these smaller towns, it wasn't like rampant homophobia. Like I think it's often portrayed. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because, pardon me, there was a man who was in Dulai named Cliff Grist, who was a gay man. He's in the movie. He's Bill Nye's character in the movie.
Huge.
He's like, he knew he was gay. He just like never verbalized it because it's kind of one of those things that like, he wasn't like living with a woman, but it's just like, you just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Which isn't great. I'm not saying like, yes, but.
No, it's not a good thing, but it's like, you're not, I feel like that's a lot of history with queer people too, is that like everyone just kind of knows.
Yes.
And you're all just sitting on it. Like, I feel like anti-queer stuff gets really bad when like someone is like, this is wrong, we need to persecute it.
Yes.
Not that there hasn't been consistent struggle throughout history.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just like portrayed differently. I'm not saying that it's good that 100%. They don't say that they're gay. I'm just saying it's different than like what you would maybe think the anti-queer sentiment at the time would be. So after that, LGSM began to raise more money through selling pins, and they organized the Pits and Pervert Ball.
Awesome.
Okay, which we love.
Amazing name.
So they made an enamel badge, and it was designed by member Jonathan Blake, and it became incredibly sought after. So Jonathan Blake was a founding member. He was an actor, and he was one of the first people to be diagnosed with HIV in the UK. Cool. He is currently one of the country's oldest surviving people with HIV. He's in his 70s, and he is still an activist. He's the one I was talking about who had like 900 pictures on his Instagram of like the same flowers with 900 different filters.
Love him.
But he's like in his 70s, still an activist, rocking out.
That's beautiful.
We don't have time to really talk about it, but like if you read his Wikipedia page, his name is Jonathan Blake. It goes into depth about like he never did AZT or any of the trial runs because he thought that it would like kill him more. Like it's very interesting his experience with surviving HIV. Very cool.
That's so
and
interesting.
And his like white blood cell count has like gotten to the point now where he's like basically undetected, which is insane. Wild.
That's crazy.
Yes. So he designed an enamel pin and it was incredibly popular. And it was said to be popular because, quote, it had the elegance of a queen's touch and knocked spots off of other patches.
Huge.
Yes. So they raised money through selling those and t-shirts and also the Pits and Pervert Ball. Oh my God, I keep wanting to say Vol for some reason.
Vol.
The Pits and Pervert. Oh my God.
The Fits and Perverts Ball.
I'm German.
We got to go to the Fits and Perverts Ball. We and my girls, we are getting dressed up and going to the Fits and Perverts Ball.
The Pits and Pervert. Oh, oh, that hurts. That hurts to laugh. The Pits and Pervert.
Just call it pee-pee balls.
The Pits and Pervert Ball.
The pee-pee ball.
Okay. So it's basically like a fundraiser with music. And it took place at the Electric Ballroom on the 10th of December. So nearly 1,500 people came and 5,000 pounds was raised.
Amazing.
All right.
It's beautiful.
Any minor... It's such a rough reality of life that nothing is funnier than mispronouncing a word. Like, literally, you can, like, work forever to, like, write a joke and nothing's going to be more funny than pervert.
The Pits and Pervert Ball.
I don't know why that was hard for me to say.
Oh, it's really funny.
So any minor who turned up would get into the event for free. And many came to London to like collect money ahead of the event. And a lot of the people from the Welsh community came and stayed with the members of LGSM. So they were constantly visiting each other. All right.
That's so nice.
And Mike Jackson said that he remembered one minor from Yorkshire standing there looking dazed in the middle of the ball. And he said, "Are all these people lesbians and gays?" And Mike Jackson said they were. And he said, "I had no idea you people supported us." So it was like a real kind of like
Aww.
culture building, right? Of
That's
like
gorgeous.
Understanding, but like solidarity.
Yeah.
Right? At this event, David Donovan gave a speech and promised that the minors would wear the queer people's badge, just as the queer people have been wearing the minors badge.
Oh my God.
And that they were like solidified in this fight together against depression.
That's beautiful. I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
And the money raised was used to buy a red minibus that would help transport minors and their families around the country to picket lines and to events to give speeches. And it was a red bus with the sentence, "Lesbians and gay men support the minor" on the side with a big pink triangle. So it's like that was kind of that manifestation of that as well, being like they're proudly supporting queer people, right?
Which is huge.
I know. Are you crying?
I'm crying. Really sensitive.
This is an article I found written right after the Pits and Perverts Ball. Nailed it. Written by Robert Kincaid for The Square Peg, which was a queer publication. And it said, "The minor strike has been the best thing to happen in years for so many working class people, lesbians and gay men included. It is all about education. People are educated through struggle, and there is no effective struggle without organization.
Wow.
Individual protest is the engine of social change, and harnessed by political organization, it acquires the force of revolution. Victory to the minors." Just like,
Wow.
So after this happened, so the Pits and Pervert Ball happened on December 10th. After that, a group of lesbians broke off from LGSM and merged with women's groups that also supported the minors to form Lesbians Against Pit Closures.
Nice.
And I read the letter that they wrote to LGSM, and this one sentence stuck out with me. It was one of the members, Wendy Calder, and she said, "I wanted to work with lesbians because I'm a lesbian." And I can't argue with that. And people worked with both groups. Basically, Lesbians Against Pit Closures were for women, lesbians who only wanted to work with other women.
And lesbians hate to see the pit closed.
They hate to see the pit closed.
They
It's
hate
their
to
least
see the
favorite
pit
thing.
closed.
It's the least favorite thing they've ever seen. But lesbians who were a part of Lesbians Against Pit Closures also still worked with LGSM.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, if you only wanted to work with women, you could work with the lesbian group. Okay?
Yeah. This checks out.
Yeah.
This checks out.
By the end of the strike, there were 11 separate LGSM groups in the UK.
Also, if you've ever been like the sole woman hanging out in a group of gay men,
it can be a lot.
You understand why they started Lesbians Against Pit Closure.
I get it.
With love and light during this month of Pride.
And I love gay men, but I also understand being like, I'd like to be with the women for a bit.
Especially like if you're seeing them every day for a week.
I know.
Like,
and they're all communists, so they're
all communists. They're all giving speeches. They're
constantly.
They're all like, "Good morning, comrade." And you're like,
Can we please listen to music?
Can we please play some tunes and not just speeches?
So on March 3rd, 1985, the National Union of Mine Workers held a vote, and it was narrowly voted that the miners would return to work on March 5th.
Wow.
Okay, so they were technically defeated in this way.
That's so sad.
The pits closed, and the closure of these pits decimated these coal towns, which caused mass unemployment and poverty, which is still seen today in these communities, because these communities were built around the coal industry.
Yeah.
Right? And it was also a lasting blow to the UK's union movement as well, because Margaret Thatcher is a menace against society, and we're happy she's dead. Sorry. But the solidarity shown by the queer community during the strike was one of the driving forces in having the Labour Party, which is like the union working class party, pivot to supporting gay rights and adding gay rights to the issues that they support. Okay?
Huge.
By the end of the strike, only the London LGSM chapter raised £22,500.
Wow.
Okay? Which is the equivalent to £86,000 in today, which is the equivalent to $150,000 Canadian.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
At the Dooley support group on the Sunday evening following the strike, a miner stood up and said, "Now our fight is over. It's time to turn around and support those who have supported us, for their struggle continues. And none less than the lesbians and gays who have stood by us solidly."
Aww.
And support, they did. Because thousands of miners and their families showed up and marched with LGSM at the 1985 London Pride.
Aww.
They showed up with their union banners, bands, families, union members, and they led the parade with LGSM because there were so many of them.
Oh my God.
So they led the parade because they were going to be put towards the back of the parade because, again, they were political.
Yeah.
But there were so many of them that they had to lead the parade right behind the banner.
Wow.
And even after that, they continued to raise money for HIV and AIDS support and research, and wrote letters to local press fighting against HIV prejudice, being like, they're not dangerous, it's not a plague. So fighting against the dismantling of the prejudice around people who are HIV positive. Ugh. Mark Ashton passed away in 1987 due to HIV-related complications, and he was only diagnosed 12 days before his passing.
Jeez.
And that's the end of the story. But Mike Jackson is still around. Jonathan Blake is still around. A lot of these original members are still kicking, which is really cool. And what I really enjoyed about this is it's so rare to research people who are older and have good opinions.
Yeah.
All of them, if you go on
God.
Instagram, they're Eyes on Rafah, Free Palestine, all these different things. They have they're engaged politically, very liberal people and leftist people and socialists to this day. Mike Jackson protested with a million other minor strikes and different strikes. They're all so active. And it's really nice to see people who are older who haven't melted their brain.
No, they're still with it.
Yeah.
They're really, because, especially when you think about the AIDS crisis took away so many elder queers.
Yeah. It was a real blow to community.
Well, I think of how different it would be. Especially I know we've been joking about Pride, but truly I find it gets so reflective this time of year where it's just oh my God, can you imagine how lost is this community without these voices?
And their
voices, these voices are so valuable.
Mark Ashton, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These prevalent organizers.
Yeah, you just see them as historical records when it's these people should still be around.
Yeah, it's really, really
it's
crazy.
Really such a tragedy.
Yeah.
That I feel we just kind of look over. It's, oh my God.
It's insane. And it was it was basically a genocide, right? They did not.
They did nothing.
They did nothing. Ronald
Reagan
Reagan didn't say the word AIDS on television.
No.
They let these people die.
Well, yeah.
And let's say it because
crazy.
it's embarrassing. It's humiliating and it's crazy. And the AIDS epidemic, I think, officially ended in it's still obviously an issue, but it ended in 1994.
Which is crazy.
Which is too recent.
No, it's nuts. That's 30 years ago.
Yes.
That's it. Everyone who died because of functionally, because no one cared in their 20s and 30s and even 40s, should still be around.
Yeah, and a lot of these people are cultural tastemakers, right?
Yeah.
It is the queer community who moves culture, moves art, moves activism forward in these ways, and these are people we lost, which is insane.
Oh yeah, it's the death of critique.
Yes,
is completely a product of the AIDS crisis. It's nuts. That's why people are how come we it's so hard to find what's good anymore? It's because
you let them die.
You let them die. Ah.
So
Pride is political.
It is political. This is the thing where it's I don't know if I want to go because I just can't.
I can't get into it.
I'll lose my fucking mind. I'm going to see the RBC straight boyfriends and bi girls float. And I'm going to go, this used to be a protest.
This used to be a protest.
And now I'm getting Mardi Gras beads thrown at my eyes.
By a man listening to death grips.
Yeah, exactly.
Arm in arm with a cop.
Yes. Should we do our section or should we just live our lives?
Should we do our section or should we live our lives?
Should we do the section? The one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm down to do the section.
Okay, ready? Let's make this tragedy about us. This is the section of the podcast, the only part of the podcast where we have a little already built-in game.
Yes.
And this is where we take a tragedy or historical event and we personalize it, because what is having a podcast if not making it about yourself?
Yeah, we don't talk about ourselves enough on this podcast, so this is making up for lost time.
Yes. So I found it really interesting while researching this, how many of these men were still around and like on Instagram.
Huge.
It was really strange.
And
to
in
me.
a huge way.
To
be posting your plants on Instagram like that, you're logged in.
No, and it'd be like Jonathan Blake posting a shirtless photo into his 70s, being like, just had a great day at the spa.
Love him.
Love it.
I
followed, like full stop. I followed all of them.
Do they have a lot of followers?
No.
Okay.
LGSM on Instagram has like 8,000 or something. So let's blow that up.
Okay,
also,
let's blow up lesbian and gay support the minors.
Absolutely. So what is like the weirdest like kind of dissonance you can think of with like a historical figure in the modern day? Like the fact that like these men lived through this historical time, but they like might know about Breaking Bad.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
It's like, rest in peace, Mark Ashton.
Yes.
You would have loved communist TikTok.
Rest in peace, Mark Ashton. You would have loved Glee.
He would have loved Glee.
You would have loved Glee. Oh, that's a really, really good question, Carley.
Because it's strange, because they are like historical figures in a way.
Yeah. Okay, I have two answers. One, right, I think is a little bit more to your question than the other one is just something I thought of when I said that. I think that people who toured with like historical musicians who are now like, you think about like how many people like toured in their like 20s with like Elvis or whatever, or with like Michael Jackson or something, where they were like there for those huge moments and now are just like relatively like normal people, like people who were like session guitarists, session drummers.
Or even that groupie Pamela DeBar.
Yeah, Pamela DeBar.
Who like had sex with Mick Jagger and is now just like doing garage sales on her that she promotes on her Facebook.
Yeah, like a lot of people who were like just working with these people that now like we don't think of Elvis as someone who could potentially still be alive and kicking.
Because they all died. Yes.
Because they all died. I think that must be nuts.
Yes.
The second one I'll say, which is a little less applicable, but I did think of it, is just the world's reaction, and I wonder how he thinks of himself, George W. Bush.
Yes.
Because I think it's crazy how George W. Bush, when he was president, people like the left and Democrats like really hated him. And now with this rise of this like crazy far-right Republicanism, the view of George W. Bush has gone from like horrible war criminal to kind of silly old guy who paints pictures.
Nude pictures of himself.
This is the thing. Yeah. And I'm like, the dissonance
that is interesting.
Must be crazy.
Yeah.
How like he can go from someone who's so hated to someone who like his perception has shifted so drastically.
Yeah.
And would love to just know, like, because I feel like he connects to insane parts of Republicanism from like Reagan to Trumpism.
And is it an episode of Girl Historians if you're not talking about the Republican Party?
Exactly. Like, come on, let's go. I saw a review of us that said must love liberalism, which is really funny.
Very true.
But anyway, what's your answer?
I just think it's interesting. Like, so there's a lot of really good interviews with Mike Jackson where he talks about like the Pride Parade and like the commercialism of the Pride Parade in modern day. And he had like a lot of really good takes of being like, it's really removed from its political roots entirely, but it is still ultimately necessary because every Pride is somebody's first.
Yep.
And he went to London Pride because it was the only Pride Parade in the country. And now there's Pride Parades in all these different places. And I just thought, again, like, it's so refreshing to have somebody like have like a good opinion. So I think I'm like, I want to know like what Mike Jackson thinks of Troye Sivan.
Oh, wow.
You know?
What I wouldn't give is he's showing up Charlie XCX to the tour, to the Troye Sivan Charlie XCX tour.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's my thing. That's everything we have today. That's our Pride episode about lesbians and gays support the minors.
And I will say, Troye Sivan, maybe the best twink we have right now.
So good.
I just love him.
I love him so much.
But this was honestly, I cried from laughter, cried from tears.
What a journey it's been.
And like, I feel like we only recorded for about an hour and I've been through it all.
It's been a damn like roller coaster of all emotions, but it was great. I loved researching this. Somebody, I know one of the fucking, I know we have some gay man watching who has a connection to anybody from LGSM, and if you do, let us know.
Let us know. Get him on the pod.
Yeah, we would love to.
Margaret Thatcher's grave, tourism board.
Let us piss on a grave.
Let us piss on a grave.
He also said, Mike Jackson said, I'm like a Mike Jackson stan, and somebody connect me with him. He's my Beyonce now. That he was saying that like Margaret Thatcher, like, first of all, destroyed society, which is true. But also that he's like, somebody was like, is it worse politically now or back then? And he's like, now. And I was like, oh no. All right. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, we're so excited for this next season. We've got so many fun things coming up.
Yes. Let us know on our Instagram at Girl Historians.
Yeah.
Is that it, right? If you want a topic, if you have any ideas for topics, you can also subscribe to our Patreon to get early access to episodes and bonus content.
Yes.
But the number one thing you can do to support us is listen. So thank you for listening.
Listen, and we're so happy to be back.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye.